This morning I will be telling you a story that only a few of you in this room know. Before I tell the story, I'd like to thank my parents and friends for helping me through this process. It was March 31st, 2013, 10:47 p.m. I was in the back of a cop car, handcuffed, with 3 other friends sitting on the side of the road, sweating bullets as we were all afraid to confront the inevitable truth. We'd been pulled over under the influence. Since late summer of 2012, I had been addicted to marijuana. People say there's no such thing as being addicted. I disagree. Every Friday, I would go see my dealer to pick up the daily amount that would last me the weekend. I was high from every Friday night to Sunday morning. Other things in my life were changing in the wrong ways. My grades were suffering. I was burning bridges with longtime friends. I wasn't being truthful with myself. I actually didn't even know who I was becoming. A part of being under the influence of any substance is losing good judgment. I, being the naive teenager, thought it would be smart to drive while I was high. I drove more times than I could count and became confident that I could do this forever. Well, everything was come to an end. Officer Bieber, who in my eyes was one of the scariest men, asked me to step out of the car and then to complete a series of tests. I attempted to make fun of his last name and referred to him as Biebs, but Officer Bieber was not amused. Like I said, weed impairs your judgment. My friends sat in the car watching me fail to complete these simple tests. I was a mess. The next thing I knew, I was in a hospital room having blood drawn to determine whether I would be charged with the DUI. You think it couldn't get any worse, but that wasn't the moment where I truly knew I hit rock bottom. After being escorted back to Montgomeryville Police Station, I was asked to empty my pockets and call my parents. It was now 1 a.m., and hearing my mom answer the phone, I didn't know whether or not I had the strength to tell her the truth. To tell her that I was an addict, and that I had been arrested, and that I had put 3 other teenagers in danger while I drove. I broke down on the phone. Another officer escorted me to a jail cell. I'm guessing most of you have not been in a jail cell, so let me give you a brief description. The walls were white, the bars were gray, everything was metal and concrete. The fluorescent light dangled above me, and I couldn't stop staring at the camera mounted to the wall. Finally, I was walked to a waiting room where my parents were sitting. As we made eye contact, both they and I realized the seriousness of the situation. It was my fault that I was there, and now I had to deal with the consequences. That night will never leave my mind. I stayed up the whole night thinking about what would happen the following morning. How would my family act like now that they knew? What were my friends thinking? What was my next step? How did I get to this point? Would my life ever be normal again? But the most important thing was the daily conversations between my sister and me. She proved to me that life could go on. Well, it did. I started therapy because my addiction was a symptom of other problems in my life. I became the permanent designated driver, and I now know that I can have sober fun. Having 4 proms to go to in the next several weeks kept me busy. And may I say, nothing makes me happier than wearing a tuxedo 4 times within 6 weeks. When the fall of my senior year rolled around, I knew that it was my last shot to try my best in school. I had the best first quarter I've ever had since coming here, and I was turning my life around. But I still had to appear in court. On November 4th, 2013, Judge Silo of Montgomery County sentenced me to 24 hours of community service and a year of probation. I had been put in my place by the state of Pennsylvania and had to pay for my mistakes that I made. I want to make it clear that I was totally responsible. I fed my addiction, I drove my addiction, and I was stupid. I put others in danger, and I put myself in danger. I was so lucky that I got caught when I did, because God knows what would have happened if I hadn't got caught. I'm so lucky to have the people in my life and all the support that I've gotten. I am truly blessed. So here's my advice. Whatever you do, don't get in the car or drive under the influence of anything. Secondly, make choices that will affect your life positively. It's inevitable that sometime during your high school career, you'll be confronted with to use or not to use alcohol or drugs. I know firsthand how easy it is to say yes. The problem is once you've said yes, it's hard to say no. However, here's the most important thing, and I'll tell it to you as it was told to me. The arresting officer asked me how long I had been smoking, and I replied, since early fall. He looked at me and said, when did you know that you couldn't have fun without it? I replied, about 1 month ago. His last question was, did you ever have fun before you smoked weed? I reluctantly answered, yes. He said, live your life when you didn't do drugs, when fun was because you were with good people. Doing drugs doesn't make you a bad person, but being the person to start the trend of not doing drugs makes you a courageous person. I'm learning this truth now. Thank you.